Hi there, everyone. I'm Evelina Lundqvist, and with me today I have Malin, Leth, my co-host of Love Zero Waste, and also our dear guest Larissa Copello from Zero Waste Europe. This interview is part of Love Zero Waste's collaboration with Zero Waste Europe. Throughout the month of October, we are scanning Europe for zero waste trends on a number of topics. So you can read more about this collaboration on thegoodtribe.com and circulus.biz. Consumers are ditching packaging. Packaging-free shops are growing in numbers and scope all across Europe. It's time to learn more about naked products and only buying as much as you need, which actually sounds absurd when I say it, but that's where we are right now. And some of the obstacles and opportunities this rediscovered and kind of also revamped way of shopping is facing. Guest today, as I just mentioned, is Larissa, campaigner at Zero Waste Europe. Larissa has a background in law and she worked as a legal consultant, environment, health and safety policies previously. So let's start at the beginning. How are you this morning, Larissa?
Hi, Evelina and Malin. Thank you very much for the invitation. And I'm great. Thank you. I'm very happy to join the podcast session.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. So let's start at the very beginning of the packaging-free shops as well. What defines a packaging-free shop?
So this is kind of a trick question and one of the barriers we will see in the end, because we don't have a EU harmonized definition of packaging-free shops yet. But in the study we did, we have considered packaging-free shops as the small shops we have in Europe where customers bring their own reusable container and where products are mostly packaging-free and sold by weight or volume. So usually our shops, small, locally owned, and linked to specific producers. For this study, we did not count supermarkets with some packaging-free ales or anything, just the small ones.
Okay, so this study that you're referring to is written by Larissa, Eunomia, and Zero Waste Europe, and it was released previously, this summer. It's called Packaging-Free Shops in Europe, an initial report. And why is this like the initial report? Why isn't there more studies on this topic?
Yes, we saw the need of having this report indeed, because we haven't seen anyone doing this approach. I mean, this big picture of the packaging-free shops in Europe. I mean, their history, the potential for growth, the economic, social, and environment impacts. That we say it's an initial report because it just touches a bit. It does not go really deep on the issue, but it's already touching the ground, so we can see how the packaging-free shops are function and what their potential. But there are also some gaps that need further research to be addressed or verified.
And can you give us like a brief overview of the growth scenarios of the packaging-free shop sector?
So the study have highlighted some of potential growth of the section, for instance, regarding job creation. It stated that in December 2019, there was predicted to be 5,000 jobs, and then an increase in the job growth section was identified, with a future scenario for 2023 of more than 10,000 full-time jobs for the sector. On waste prevention, So it was verified that packaging-free shops would avoid on average 1 ton of packaging per shop per year. And the EU-wide estimation is that we could avoid in 2023 around 500 tons, 1,000 tons of packaging. And regarding the shop turnover of each packaging, it was evidence that it was increasing over the last 3 years. So we have around an estimation for 1.2 billion of sales in bulk shops by 2030.
That's really cool. It's a lot happening. Yeah. And so what do you think about the distribution and accessibility of these stores? I mean, in some areas there are a lot of them and some areas not so many at all. Where are these shops typically located?
Yeah, so we carry out our survey with packaging-free shops in 10 countries, which is Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, France, Germany, Latvia, Slovenia, Spain, and Ukraine. So it was 270 shops, more or less. And the distribution accessibility varies depending to country. For instance, we identify that it's more accessible in countries like Germany, France, and Spain, and much less accessible in other countries like Latvia, Bulgaria, and Czech Republic. And these shops, they're mostly located in the city centers rather than in the rural areas, the countryside.
Mm. And have you looked into why the development is so much faster and why the numbers are growing faster in some regions than others?
Yeah, I think it's also how progressive are some countries regarding these issues, and the others, how are progressive, like the legislations, etc. So we have seen that France, they are one of the most progressive countries regarding circular economy issues, zero waste, etc. They just launched the new circular economy legislation, which is one of the more like more on one step forward, I would say, than other countries. So so then these countries, they have more support, I think, for packaging-free shops to grow.
Mm. And what is the typical target groups that shop at these stores?
Usually, from the surveys that we identified, most families and employed persons are more the target of these shops.
And has that changed over time also?
No, it has always. I think it was kind of stable. Yeah.
Okay. So what major trends do you see in the growth of these packaging-free shops across Europe?
I think the major trends would be definitely the job growth, as I already mentioned, because they are increasing, and now with the EU has a lot of circular economy goals and reduction on packaging waste. The Commission is reviewing the directive, the EU directive on packaging to reduce the amount of packaging put in the market. So I think the number of shops will grow in Europe with this support from legislation that we hope to have, and with the more packaging-free shops, of course, we have more job generation and more waste prevention and less waste being disposed and in the landfills or incinerated, etc. We will have more circular packaging and ideally no packaging at all.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say are some of the more significant hurdles preventing growth?
So so we carried out this survey with our members, because Zero Waste Europe, we are a network of organizations across Europe working towards preventing waste. So the groups that we had there, they helped us to identify what are the main barriers for these business models to grow. And I can highlight 3 of them. The first one is the better reflection of the full cost of packaging, because the regular disposable packaging, single use, they are being effectively subsidized, as they don't. The price of this packaging does not count the end of life costs, the external costs like environmental cost and littering associated with the impact of this item. So always to set up a business with reusable packaging or zero waste business, etc., is much more expensive at first time, rather than just go for single use, which is cheap. So there is like no level playing field with single-use packaging. So that's one of the barriers. Mm-hmm. The other one, which I think I mentioned already, is the kind of harmonization of bulk regulations. For instance, there is no EU-wide definition of packaging-free, and also there's kind of a lack of clarity between hygiene practice as well in packaging-free shops across Europe. For instance, one example is that in Spain, I think we could not sell olive oil in bulk because of hygiene reasons, this kind of thing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. In Belgium, we already see it, olive oil in bulk. Mm-hmm. So they need to harmonize this. And the last barrier is the development of supply chains. So the underdevelopment of packaging-free supply chains are relative to the other sectors, like the most, the common supermarkets chains are much more developed than the packaging-free ones. And of course, this big supermarkets, the benefit of the economy of scale with the logistics, etc. And this kind of it's a challenge for the small packaging shops now.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine that. Do you see any indication that the conventional supermarkets get inspired by this growth of packaging-free stores?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they are getting inspired or just being obliged to move towards less packaging. As we see, at least here in Belgium, I see, and I think in other countries as well, some big chains of supermarkets putting some packaging-free ales with some grains, etc. But it seems like it's just doing this because to show consumers that they are kind of caring for packaging. But we see that the majority of the products are still packed, and even fruits and vegetables, which should not be. So it's still a lot of way to go for these supermarkets to be packaging free.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You can go into any shop, any conventional shop basically, and it's packaging all over the vegetables and everything else that you buy basically. So what needs to be done on a policy level to move away from unnecessary packaging in general, maybe specifically directed towards these conventional stores?
Yeah. So we are kind of working with the European Commission, and we hope that our kind of demands will be taken into account, because, as I said, they are in a really important moment now, revising a legislation of packaging in Europe. So I think what could be done to support this packaging-free sector and help reducing packaging waste is, for instance, setting an overall cap on the amount of single-use packaging put in the market, in the EU market, restricting the use of some packaging and types formats, for instance, where we can use reusable ones, or where packaging cannot be even recycled, so this should not be in the market at all. Set binding sector-specific targets for reuse or refill. For instance, on beverage, there are many beverage containers that we could definitely set up refill schemes. And for food as well, takeaway food, we have already seen some businesses starting with this reusable containers for takeaway, for coffee to go, etc. Mm-hmm. And definitely ensure better design of packaging. So like harmonize packaging formats, like it's called universal packaging formats for some sectors. The beverage one, I think, was one of we already seen, I think, for years or something. So that could be optimized and would help all the sectors as well to have this economy of scale. Mm-hmm. And reduce the complexity of packaging, less layers, less materials, less polymers, chemicals, etc. So the more simple, the merrier. Mm-hmm. What is really important is to also put some requirements for public authorities. We call that green procurement criteria, because we think the public authorities should be the model to be followed, and supporting deposit return schemes as well. So deposit return schemes is when you go to a shop, you take a reusable container, you pay a price for that, and then you return it. So then it can be washed, it can be reused. I think it's really important to support this practice. And set up economic incentives for packaging-free and reusable products to overcome these barriers. For instance, put a bit tax maybe on single-use packaging to create this level playing field, or discounts for reusable packaging, etc.
Wow, that's a lot. I mean, there's so many concrete things that can be done and that partially also are being done already. So you touched upon this a lot now in the answers, but I would still like you to paint a picture of the future. What does a society look like where everybody shops naked products, where there are no unnecessary packaging? There's no plastic packaging at all in the grocery store when you go there. All shops are naked, selling naked products. What does that future look like?
Well, definitely is the future we want to see. And we, as I have already specified, we have many ideas, like at policy level, of how this could be done. And I think the most important is also to change our behavior. It's like changing what we see as like common, as already, that's imposed in our society, and change this view and start questioning. It's like, can I have this without packaging? Yes, of course, totally possible. Because I think that's the problem in society. We don't stop to question things. Things are already imposed to us, everything packed, and we are busy lives, and we don't stop to question. But we can improve it, and we should improve it, because our planet cannot support anymore all this waste being thrown away, and we need to reuse materials. And it's not rocket science. We can do it, and it's easy. We have see we have many examples of amazing, like the packaging-free shops and amazing other business with zero waste and circular economy models that just need a bit of support so they can grow and flourish.
That's an awesome wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us, Larissa Copello, Consumption and Production Campaigner at Zero Waste Europe. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. My pleasure. Have a great day too. Bye.